What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dragzine Podcast. I'm your host, Senior Associate Editor Brian Wagner, and this week on the show, man, we have the guests I've been trying to get for a while, a top fueled Nitro Harley rider, and we just didn't get any rider. We got one of the best, Tii Tharpe. Tii, what's going on?
Man, just getting caught up here at work. We had a Memorial Day weekend, and do all the typical things, pay your respects, see your family, cook out, and but back to business as usual here at Spevco, and gearing up this week. We're going to have a race in Rockingham. Obviously, that's kind of our home track, and so we're looking forward to that.
Nice. It's always fun to gear up for a race week and make sure you got everything lined up and ready to go. That way, when you can hit the track, it's all throttle time, right?
That's right. That's the plan.
And it's interesting. That'll transition perfectly into this question. My first question: most racers think Nitro Harley riders are insane. Like, that is pretty much anytime I ask any racer, is there anything you wouldn't race? There's two answers: Pro Mod and a Nitro Harley, depending on what it is, who the person is. How did you end up riding, like going, hey, I want to race Nitro Harley? Like, how did that come about?
Well, I guess I was younger and dumber than I am already, and just side note, it's really not crazy. It's just low IQ. But I started. I've always raced motorcycles, and I started racing three wheelers. When I was 5, and parents were fine with that. Nobody knew they were dangerous then.
Yeah.
But in school, I had been driving cars, Legends cars, actually, in high school. And, at that time, our business was heavily rooted in Winston Cup racing. And that's what I wanted to do was to drive a cup car. And, father's like, nope, you're going to go to school. And while I was in school, it was just really easy to go to the local drag strip. And, I take I had 94 Sportsters, 94 cubic inches, and I could go to Wilkesboro and go test and tune, and that was a ton of fun. And then I got involved with the AHDRA, riding a Pro Mod Harley in '98, and we had some good success and won a championship in '99, and it just is like anything else. It just kind of naturally progresses. You want to go faster and faster. And I was in all of them. I would watch, Jay Turner, Jim McClure, Bob Spina, Bill Furr, just these great big personalities with these big, awesome machines, and just watch what they do and the way they act, and the motorcycles more than the people, but the people were also fun to watch too. But no, I just got the bug, and I really thought, man, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And in 2002, that's what we went and did. I got a rolling chassis from John Storrance at Weekend Frame Company, and we went out and picked it up, and we drove it straight back to Virginia to Jim McClure's shop, and dropped it off. And time passed. Jim got it assembled, and he called and said, y'all bring your starter cart and couple things, and y'all come on up here. And on the ride I was living in Goldsboro, North Carolina at the time, working with Scott Wood, and I remember the ride up there, man. It was a lot of soul searching. I was really thinking that it was hitting me like, man, you got a good investment in this, and this is now becoming real, real. And I was questioning myself. I was like, man, have you bit off more than you can chew, and do you really want to do this? And hey, you're committed there. And we went to Rockingham, first race, and I don't know if good or bad. It's probably good. I blew the tire off of it every single pass. So my first few attempts were a lot of tire smoke, and but then we kind of got a hold of it, and it takes a while. I don't know how many laps it took me, but I do remember the first time I made a 6-second pass. And I remember my first over 200 pass, and it's quite an experience. And then if you take 4 or 6 years off, chances are you get a little limp wristed a couple of times before you make it out the back door again. It's definitely an acquired taste, and it's just in your mind like most things, and you got to get it slowed back down.
to me, it's just, I remember the first time I saw Nitro Harley, that it just, it was all inspiring, just because, I've seen plenty of fast sport bikes and whatnot, but it's a completely different experience to see them in person, because of just like how brutal they are, and the whole process, and that you have to start them, you can't sit on them to start them, and just like everything, it's just, it's literally, it's nitro on two wheels.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're a trip, and you have the inline bikes, and I mean, they're a ton of fun to watch and super fast. But it's just a little. There's definitely a difference there, obviously, but they seem a bit archaic. I mean, you're what it's based on is really old technology, and it's just met a whole lot of new technology, and it's a different ride. I've never ridden a Top Fuel inline bike, but talking to Larry McBride and some of our friends, it's a lot different experience, and Larry has ridden the Top Fuel Harleys in the past, and just says, they're just two completely different animals. The way they run, the way they, I think if you do the math, it might fire 48 times in a quarter mile, so you can almost feel it hit every time going down the track. And I hear the inlines are much more linear, smoother, and they just chew all the way. The Top Fuel Harley, it pulls from A to B. But I can't imagine if we got a screw blower or something like that to really work all the time on it. That would be another experience.
That's a terrifying premise. Let's put a screw blower on a Nitro Harley. I mean,
Yeah.
that's terrifying, but it's intriguing at the same time. It's like if Darth Vader needed a motorcycle, that would be it.
Right. And Jay's tried it. We got one with a Pro Charger on it. We thought that would be a good way to try to creep up on it. And Talk has a Pro Charger on his, and I think it'll come around, and it will work. But in the meantime, we're just last year happened, and Jay did devote a whole season to it and made good progress. But the pandemic, we're just trying to get back online, get racing, and we're definitely more consistent and know what we're doing, naturally aspirated, and so that's where we're at right now. But we are hoping to be under pressure one day before too long and see even bigger numbers.
Well, let's talk about the tech specs of these bikes, because again, it's not something that I think it's cool as hell, and it should get more broader coverage. Talk about some of the things that might surprise your average, your guy that's a bracket racer, goes to a national event, might have his own bike, and then sees one of these things. It's a completely different animal.
Yeah, it really is. Where the rational thinking, or is to try to lighten things up, and save weight, add power, all that stuff. We're always adding power, and more times than not, we're adding weight. It's nothing to put even up to 18 feet of extra tube in chassis. So we'll take. Yeah, Jay has got a good program, and he just been doing it so long and seen all the good pieces of all the good manufacturers, and has incorporated it into every chassis. He's now building his own chassis, but we've got plenty of weekends, Dixies, wheels chassis, and so he will add, take a lot of time and add extra materials, and it makes them a bit safer, and they ride good, and so I'm impressed with the Pro Street bikes. That's insane to see a street tire bike running basically real close to what we're running, and they eclipse our mile an hour from time to time. I don't think they've been 237, 238 yet, but they're really fast. And I would have to imagine, I don't really know where they're at, but I bet they're north of 700 horsepower, and I don't know what they weigh, but I imagine they're probably 600 or less. Where we, with the rider, is typically a 1,200-pound package, and we make about, a guy, Damian Cowden from Canada, he actually put one on a dyno, engine dyno, made a cush drive, and I think it made 1,200 horsepower. So
it's a horsepower per pound.
Yeah, and they're just really big and heavy, and they've got a ton of power. I don't know what the torque number was, but I'm sure it was pretty impressive. But really, I mean, the best way to describe it it's like half of an A fuel car. So we run basically the same controls, the EM box, the MSD, a all valve or a BDK, if you will. It's really half of a fuel car with no blower on it. And, and they're different. Somebody made an analogy one time that, you can do finished trim work and you can use a little finishing hammer, a tack hammer, or you can use a sledgehammer. They'll both do it in different ways. And I think that, the Top Fuel Harley is more of the sledgehammer approach. And
with a rocket on the back of it.
Right, right. But they are, they're big and they're stinky and they're loud and violent. And, that's what gives them a lot of appeal.
What kind of transmission setup do you guys use on these things?
We have great luck with the B&J. We use 2-speed B&J. It's a lot like something that I think like they run in alcohol cars, maybe a little smaller, but yeah, it's a B&J 2-speed. There's a couple high gear bikes, but mostly everybody's running a 2-speed of some sort. But we're big B&J fans.
Yeah. It's wild when you think about 1,200 horsepower on a bike that weighs 1,200 pounds. It's using a 2-speed transmission. Is like that's a lot to try to like figure out. And then on top of that, it runs on nitro. So you have to be able to, be a nitromethane alchemist to make it go and not, try to eat itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God for good fasteners and technology coming around, because we just fasteners and using studs instead of bolts has helped tremendously. And then everybody is keep safety top of mind. So between the restraint strap that holds the motor together in the event of an explosion, and then we do have to wear a ballistic vest, so we have a bulletproof vest on under our leathers. But I don't want to jinx anything, but the explosions still happen a lot, but most of the time it'll torch a head, and let the pressure out there. That is definitely ideal, because the other way is it blows the head off, or it blows the head and the cylinder off, and that's when it typically gets pretty messy and you start hurting frames and hurting sternums and stuff.
I have been trackside when a Nitro Harley engine has decided it wanted to do a high energy disassembly. It gets your attention. It
Yes.
definitely it's like nothing I've ever been around before. And I am not gonna lie, I jumped the first time it happened.
Yeah, man, the first time I got it, it's amazing. You can actually weld leather and aluminum together. Like, I looked around after it, and there's a lot of aluminum stuck to my suit, and it happens really fast. A little warm flash, you see a lot of pink and purple go everywhere, and then and there you are, and it's kind of as it happens, not so bad. After it happens, you start you don't want to think about it too much. You just think about how to make it safer.
Well, the whole ballistic vest thing, that was like another one of those moments where I realized, all right, this is a completely different animal. I was up at Norwalk watching the Nitro Harley guys get ready. I'm like, why is this guy putting a flak jacket on? Like legit, like something you'd see someone that's going to war put on. And then someone explained everything to me, and I see him starting it off of, got the starter off the bike. I'm like, all right, I'm intrigued. But it's like, in my mind, like the rational part of my brain goes, why would you ever want to do that? Like, just and then in the same sense, I'm like, then I'm sitting there strapping myself into a race car, and there's probably someone else going, why would you ever want to do that?
Yeah, it's like, you can't get too worried. You wouldn't wake up in the morning. That's the safe way, but that's not, that won't get you anywhere either, right?
And that kind of rolls into this question of, everybody, you have to get mentally prepared to ride or drive something. How do you get mentally prepared to ride literally a mechanical Bronco?
Yeah, it's like riding a bull with the off switch. The off switch, that's a good thing to have, especially compared to riding a bull. But I just raced weekend before last in Houston, and we're going to race this weekend, and I could race the weekend right after that, and it's still the same thing. Especially just the first pass. The first pass at each event, you definitely just, I kind of some form of meditation. I try to get calm. I try to see it in my head, and then I got a little ritual. I've definitely got my own superstitions. And then I've got a couple other things that I do, things that I believe keep me safe, and definitely pray. I definitely love to see the Rushers for Christ in the lane, or any chaplain, and get a prayer is nice, and then get down to it. But the first one is always the most taxing, and then after that, you get a little more comfortable and you get to really enjoy it. But yeah, and I mean that's part of, I guess, what draws me to it myself. It's getting the butterflies, and knowing that we used to race with this guy, and had shirts made up said, do something once a day that scares you to death, and that's what it is. Yeah.
That makes me think of another question here is like, every race car has what I call a pre-flight checklist. When I worked on a radial tire car, we had our own pre-flight checklist, make sure the bottle's on, yada, yada, yada. I see, Leah Pruitt's over there getting crazy, high-fiving, body slamming crew guys, slapping her parachutes and everything else. What do you guys do on a Nitro Harley is like the pre-flight checklist to make sure that this thing's going to behave itself somewhat?
Yeah, well, we actually have our list. It's laminated and it is stuck to the side of the trailer at each station. And it's just all the critical things. Put oil in it, put fuel in it, check. But we definitely check all of our critical fasteners. We want to make sure our brakes, our wheels, tires, the bead lock, everything's just torqued and checked. But as far as not sitting on the motorcycle when it started and starting it, that's really a dangerous time. And so we're just real adamant about, when in doubt, blow it out. So if you don't know, you think you did, whatever, could the barrel valve have leaked a little bit, take the line off, make sure the engine's dead, pull the plugs out of it, spin the motor, make sure there is no nitromethane on top of the piston. And I would say that's one of the very biggest things as far as starting it. And then the other real critical thing is, even if the tune-up is terrible and everything else is not right, you definitely want to make sure that, that the rubber's on the road and the brakes are working, and that everything you need to control that motorcycle stays intact.
Yeah, it's Brian Loans mentioned one time about, the most dangerous and scary people at the racetrack are guys that are lackadaisical around nitromethane powered vehicles. And I straight up believe that, because you can cruise through YouTube and see some videos of people that have blown stuff up in the pits or at the track because they just weren't paying attention. And that's in a car. And I couldn't imagine with a bike, it's, there's not as much meat there to protect it.
And it's super critical on the firing procedure to just make sure that the ignition is right, that there's zero fuel inside the engine, nothing on top of the piston. We had some friends in a carbureted nitro class in Valdosta, South Georgia, one year. It's been a few years ago, but it exploded in staging lanes, and the butterfly actually went through Walter. I think it might have hit his liver, but nonetheless, it sent two people to the hospital with some very serious injuries. A bomb went off and they caught the shrapnel.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, literally, if you think about it, it's just an IED with a throttle cable almost.
Sometimes they are, unfortunately.
Wow. Yeah. That's why you don't start them while you're sitting on them and you have those flak jackets, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, somewhere out there is footage of Jim McClure, and I think it was like 96, and I think it was in Atlanta. And this was really before the restraint strap or the vest. And Jim was down there running, and it's terrible to watch. He hit the throttle and he moved maybe 300 feet, good load of fuel, and it blew up. And it just absolutely took the backbone out of the bike and just destroyed his chest. I mean, I think it broke his rib cage, his sternum, bruised his heart. It really, really hurt him. And after that, that's when the strap came into play and the vest came into play. And ever since then, every year, whether it be a fastener or just any piece of safety equipment, it does get better every year. And so hopefully we will not see much of that or any of that in the future.
Yeah, and that's one thing that the NHRA is good about is anytime there is a safety related issue that they try to do their best to make sure that if it happens once, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, yeah, they do that. The tech, it's been weird lately. You get to tech yourself online, but I don't have an issue with that because I have to get on it, and I think all the other riders agree. Safety is up to you, and you're the one that has to deal with it. So um, you definitely want to make sure it's safe. But and Jay's always, he'll see something and he'll incorporate it into our bikes. So in 2015, we were running with IHRA, and they got the transponder, right? And so 300 feet past the finish line or wherever, it'll send a signal and it'll turn the fuel off and deploy the parachute. And that's another thing that we just Jay did on his own proactively, and it just so happens that it was a lifesaver. I got to test it out in Memphis at an IHRA race, and me and Mark Connor and I were having a pretty good drag race. I crushed him at the tree, but it was a good side by side race, and I stayed in the throttle probably longer than I should have. And when I went to shut the bike down, I got sloppy. My hand got a little air under it, and it just pulled me off the bike, and it was nobody's fault but mine. But the transponder did work. It did put the chute out. That footage is somewhere on YouTube, and and you can see if it had not been for that equipment, then there would have been two people hurt for sure. Because I mean, my motorcycle just barely missed Mark when he made the turn off. So if that parachute hadn't been out, it would have hit him a lot harder and sooner than it would have hit him. So that works. And something good comes from bad stuff. Hopefully all the time.
Oh, for sure. Now, you've won two NHRA titles in this class, and what to me is interesting is doing that at a high level on a machine that is like not consistent and is pretty extreme. What goes into winning two championships on a Nitro Harley?
Well, good equipment, a good team, good sponsors and support. And then also, grace. You need to have favorable conditions, like in the universe, I suppose. 18 was a phenomenal year. We didn't make it to Pomona. The tongue broke on the trailer on the way to Pomona, and so we didn't even make it. Vance and Hines had just brought a new bike out and brought Doug Mansell back. They won the event, and but we gathered ourselves back up. We made it to Arizona, and then just started chipping away. 18 was definitely, I'll never forget it, or 19. I mean, they were both great years, but 18, we kind of duked it out all year. And it came down to the final round of the final race, and winner take all. And so that is extremely special. And when everything ebbs and flows, and when you're hot, you're hot, and you need to take advantage of that and do that. And I think even more importantly, when you're not, you're not, and you need to just recognize that they are unpredictable. They are gonna throw you curveballs, and when it's not your day, you keep your head up, and you be a good competitor, and you just wait. Your turn will come back around. You stay in the barrel long enough or in the cylinder, it'll be your turn in the chamber again before long.
Well, let's talk about that championship you won where it came down to the final round. Paint the picture what that's like as a racer when literally like it's something that sometimes you think about, oh, it's like the hitting the home run to win the World Series. But as a racer, it's a lot more of a individualized and personal thing. There's a lot that goes into it. And what was that like for you, knowing that you're coming up to a run where it's pretty much it's literally sudden death, winner takes all?
That's it. Man, somehow I found just some surreal calmness, before the final round. We started to have some piston, mostly ring issues. We've been running this ring forever and ever, and then they quit making it, and we fought and fought and fought. And so, we put this brand new setup in it, went out there and qualified a couple times, and I mean, absolutely burnt the top end up every time. And so we found the best old stuff we had at the U.S. Nationals, put it in there, went to number one qualifier, and then progressively got slower every pass because, you know, it's worn out. But it was just kind of, that was the way 18 went. I mean, you know, your trailer brakes, you know, you get thrown all these obstacles, and we just did a fantastic job as a team of keeping our head up and just keep marching forward. And and I don't know, I wouldn't, I won't say I wasn't confident that I was going to win like that. That's how you win. You have to, like, you don't go to come in second, or, you know, you go to win, and that's it. And we were definitely there to win. We'd had a lot of adversity in 18, but we'd had such good success overcoming it that I was confident. And it's funny, you know, me and Doug both cut identical lights. It was 041 to 041 when we left the tree, and his bike nosed over, and mine just kept on trucking. And but it was surreal. It was hard to believe. It was like a fairy tale.
And you're doing it at the U.S. Nationals as well.
At the U.S. National, and I think it was the first time in like a couple of decades that fuel bikes had ever been there. You know, I think the last time, you know, the Elmer Tret was there. So that it was that one is gonna probably be on top. The only one that even gets close would be I've always done pretty good in Bristol, and I did in 18. I had my father and my son there, and got to win with them there, and so that's the other one that's really, really special to me.
And it's those special wins that I think that for most of us, it's what drags us through a bad day at the track, is that it's that carrot at the end of the stick that says, oh, today sucks, but tomorrow could be better. And you're like, oh, well, let's just wake up and do it again.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You know, and that's what, you know, what I love about racing. You know, there's the excitement, the adrenaline, you get to go fast, but then there's all the other things and life lessons that come with it. You know, as long as you can get out of your own way and step back and recognize that, you know, I think that's what makes it such a great sport, and, you know, a great, a great experience.
Now, I do have to thank our sponsor this episode real quick, ProCharger. For 25 years, ProCharger has been the industry's leading aftermarket supercharger manufacturer by designing, engineering, and building the most powerful, reliable, and advanced centrifugal superchargers on the market. No matter if you're looking at adding 3,500 horsepower to a record-setting Pro Mod, or looking for a DIY system for your street car, truck, or motorcycle, ProCharger has the perfect supercharger system for you. For more information about the amazing ways you can bolt on more horsepower to your ride, visit procharger.com. Now, I've seen turbo bikes in person, you know, the Pro Street bikes. I haven't seen a ProCharger bike in person. I can only imagine it's going to be just as loud as a ProCharger race car.
Oh yeah, well, you know, like I said, we've got a ProCharger, so big shout out to Walt Sipp. He's helped us tremendously with our blower bike, and it's a ProCharger Top Fuel Harley, and it's still being worked on, and but it is different. I mean, it's got a nice, you can hear the turbo, you can hear us closed valve, you know, when it gets staged up, and it definitely has a very distinctive sound. I like it. You know, sometimes the other blowers, they kind of sound a little different, and it you know, kind of bumblebee, and that's great. You know, they got a great sound too, where this one's still, that's what I like about the ProCharger. It still maintains that real original Harley sound, but it makes it just hit that much harder every time, and they're really neat. Really neat.
Anything ProCharged just sounds angry. Doesn't matter what. Like this past weekend, I was at the PDRA race, and you know, ProCharged Pro mods, like screw blower cars are just loud. It's like just being around a screaming drunk person. And maybe that says something about me. I love that. I love screw blowers. You know, it's just, again, when they whack that throttle, like that exhale noise it makes. But a ProCharger just sounds like a big angry dinosaur.
Yeah, especially this 900-inch motor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, I think the some of the Pro mods, they run the smaller cubic inch on the blower cars, but then again, the 900 cubic inch are your nitrous cars out of Zoomies, which again sound completely different and angry.
Yeah. No, I had a Road King. It was a 300 horsepower Road King, but it was a street bike. I mean, I rode that thing. I could go ride a couple hundred miles, no sweat. You know, like worst thing ever happened is chuck a belt off, and that's usually because you let off the throttle too fast. But no, they're a ton of fun, and you can chuck a belt and you can still make it home. That's what I always liked about it. But man, when they whacked up for sure, and I'm definitely a Pro Charger fan.
You mentioned the Pro Street bikes. I was up at the World Cup when they were running those the first year, and it is an exhibition class. And there's the fast of the fast guys. And I was standing at half track. These dudes go screaming by, and they're grabbing gears, and that bike is wanting to like climb the tire at half track. And then I see him run a 6 at over 200 some miles an hour. That's a hard no thanks. Hard no thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog just came in here. She's a little noisy. Man, no, I'm right here in Winston, and so is DME Racing. And, his father, like Mickey Edinger, and man, those guys are fantastic, and they definitely have the fastest of the fast. And so, I've always, Farmington's my real local track, and I mean, just being young, I mean, I remember Demi, everybody, we'd go to Farmington and race all kinds of stuff, and and then you see cut swing arms, and then little small square slicks, and then it just evolves and evolves. But man, they're absolutely just killing it, and I think these new 1000 rules have definitely played in. I believe if I was building one, it'd be a 1000. But it's insane to see. They were going 670s, not that long ago, and that seemed unreal. And now they're running 30s, and they can run 230 like every time. So it's really incredible, and they got a lot of technology, and a whole lot goes into that. And my hat's off to them.
I've got some friends that run grudge bikes and nitrous and some turbo bikes, and again, I just look at that. I'm like, you guys are just no thanks. Just that level of like the concentration. I think that's another thing that people don't give motorcycle racers respect enough for, is like launching a stick drag car is like rough. A stick bike, and then like you're trying to get that thing to do what it's supposed to do while you're trying to do everything you have to do. That's a different level.
Right. And not flip over, right? Yeah. And I don't understand 100% of the rules. I wouldn't mind. I'd like to ride Kool-Aid. That's the grudge bike that Demi has. And I think that somebody that is a lot heavier like myself might be able to go. I might not win a grudge race, but it would definitely be fun. But man, yeah, they're definitely a trip, and I'm amazed that they keep going faster, and I wonder, where is the limit? And yeah, I don't know, but I will. When we do race with them sometimes, and maybe a man cup race or something like that, it's always fun to watch them and to see what they're going to do next.
So that's another thing that cracks me up is that if you line up at the NHRA level a pro stock motorcycle rider and and a Nitro Harley rider side by side, it becomes very apparent quickly who does what, because there ain't no jockey size guys riding a Nitro Harley.
No, I think Ricky, is probably the thinnest guy out there, and he's still not a small fella. So, I mean, in our class, and I'm sure it could be refined more and more. I don't know that that's what we want. We are, little cantankers, a little set in our ways. And, if the bike doesn't go straight, that's okay. We kind of want it to do certain things. That's kind of what makes it Nitro Harley, and we are purist at some level. But yeah, it's nice that you can be old, bald, and fat and still succeed or excel. And and sometimes, if some of these younger guys are aging out and they're getting tired of diets and they ever want to step up, and my recommendation is eat some cheeseburgers and come on.
But that's a great way to gain some support. Now, I've seen some crazy moments on these bikes online. Like guys, like there was one in Australia, some dude got, looks like he rode the lightning, something with the ignition happened. He got shocked and he literally fell off the bike. Terrible. And I saw that. I'm like, that had to be a bad day. Now, what's some of the crazier things that you've experienced or seen, racing these things? Is that right there? I saw that. I'm like,
Well,
I'm not cool. I'm not cool with that.
yeah, no, I've had a few a few things. I mean, at 15, I crashed. I came off. I hit the ground at 217, and rolled and slid. I don't know, about 800 feet, and that was a game changer. Um, and I thought it was towards the end of the season. I was like, I'm just going to park it. And but we had a race the weekend after in Rockingham, and me and Jay talked a little bit, and it was like, man, it's best to get back on it. And I got right back on it and had just an incredible pass. Um, Something came up and hit me. I forget what hit me in the face shield, but that made me chop it at 1,000 feet. But it was still just a blistering pass. But speaking of being electrocuted, so that happened to me in Epping in 2019. In Epping in the semis, right at the end of the track. I shut the bike off, and it was, I mean, just within a couple hundred feet. I thought that a frame, a piece of the chassis had broke. It sounded like a piece of chromoly tube, and it just snapped in half. But my hand like came up, and that's a testament to the safety and what we have done. So since my blow off, the front fairing has changed. We found that running a front fender, this all gets the wind off of you, or helps a whole lot. And it afforded me to my hand to come up this high, and it still made it back to the bar. Now, when it got back to the bar, you got to hold on to it real tight. And the last thing you want to do when you're being electrocuted, and I mean, it was lighting me up. I mean, I think they discharge, it's a capacitive discharge, but it's close to 300 amps and like 50,000 volts. And man, I finally realized what was happening, and it absolutely was killing me. And what had happened was the spark plug manufacturer had changed, kind of their production, and it was leaking gas. And you couldn't pull the boot off the plug in the pits, but it would build up so much gas and come through the plug that was pushing the boot off. And man, it was the rear cylinder, it was the rear hole, and that thing was coming around and biting me like down in where you don't want to get hit. You don't get hit anywhere, but you definitely don't get hit there. And it definitely shocked the snot out of me a lot. And I was about 3 pops away from just getting off of it. And I finally realized they turned the ignition off, stupid. And so I got to the ignition button, and it finally quit, but I wanted off of it so bad. And it literally knocked the fight out of me for the final. And I was running Ricky in the final. And I dropped the throttle probably 1,200 feet just because I was scared. And you never seen so much duct tape consumption. I mean, that Gorilla Tape, that's good stuff, because I mean, I'd run Gorilla Tape around the whole rocker box and the plug wires. And I mean, just like, it's not going to hit me again. And then lo and behold, we went to Seattle right after that. I did win Epping, luckily, but we went to Seattle right after that. In the very first qualifying round, I was running Bow Lane. I was in the right lane. And, if you don't keep it in the middle of the lane, or you let it get just a little left in Seattle in the right lane, it'll draw you to the center line hard. And, it's the first round of qualifying. I was looking at it. I was like, man, I could probably make it, but I'm going to be right on the center line when I cross the finish line. If I'm lucky, I might hit the block. And so I shut it off. And, man, as soon as I shut it off, Bo just trucks past me. And then all of a sudden, he makes this hard right turn. And I was thinking, man, has he got a wheel bearing? Like, even a wheel bearing doesn't pull you that hard right. And I was thinking, oh, come on, ride it. And then all of a sudden, it was clear he was going to hit the wall. And I was thinking, bail. And man, and he hit the wall. That's the hardest I've ever seen a motorcycle hit a wall. And then he got so high up on the wall, I remember thinking, man, please don't go over the wall. Don't go over the wall. And the bike just, it checked out. It went through both the nets and over, just destroyed it. And it tore Bo up pretty good. I mean, it really hurt his arm a lot. He's had, I think he might still have a surgery to go. And he was doing a fantastic job. And it was a lot like what happened to me. The bar came out of his hand, and Bo's a big, strong guy, and he found the backbone on the chassis, and so he kind of had a hold of that. But it was, blowing him everywhere. I think he was running 219 or something. But he crossed. I mean, he came straight over and hit my wall. And I mean, I had the parachute out and got stopped and all that stuff. And but man, it was eerie. And that too kind of took all the fun out of it for that weekend. I really, you know, it sets a tone that's not good. And because, you know, you can get hurt doing anything, right? And plenty of people get hurt in cars. Motorcycles as a whole, I think we're very fortunate, but when you do hit the wall, it's you hitting the wall. It's not, you know, it's not anything else. But that being said, and then the very next round, we go out there, and you know, my attitude is not where I really want it to be, or spirits. And I'll be darned if get out there in the left lane and get to the finish line, and I feel it again. There it is, shocking me right in the rib cage. But I knew where the off switch was, like, immediately that time. So, but yeah, getting shocked by the MSD is absolutely no fun at all.
Yeah, I could only imagine. You know, I've seen friends get bit by a street car ignition system. I couldn't imagine a system that's strong enough to light off nitromethane poking you in ways that are not enjoyable.
Right, and then you have to grab it harder so you don't come off, and it bites you harder. It's terrible. But oh man, yeah, I've seen Randall. That's happened to him. He got bit a few times, and then he also, I think we were in Bowling Green or something, and he was on the high gear bike, and they were having a decent race, and he blew one of the cylinders, blew off, and you know, he looked and nobody was coming, so he got it again. He nailed the throttle again, and he blew that one off. And then, you know, he's down there trying to get off the bike because it's on fire, and it ended up burning to the ground. And I don't believe it's been back out since. No, it has been back out since. But you see quite a few things.
See, I was at Norwalk. I forget what event it was for. They had some Nitro Harleys there, and one of the dudes went down because they went the 8th mile because the wind was so bad, and a Nitro Harley rider went down, and they had the air chopper squad guys in there. They see this dude wreck on this loud motorcycle, and they are immediately, you know, they're like, they are sheepdog. They're ready to go help. This dude pops up, like, and he's like mad. I think he kicked the bike because it went down, and they're like looking like, you know, they're like, what do we do? And they radio the track guy, like, is he okay? They're like, yeah, he's mad.
Yeah. And he's a big dude too. That's Jason Pridemore, and he's got a screw blower bike. I mean, it's really a work of art. And unfortunately, something in his front end broke, and that's really why it went down. The
was that
front
what
end
it was?
Actually came off. Yep, Jason Pridemore. Yeah.
I'll never forget that, because it was like the look in the helicopter crew's eyes was like, you know, they've seen a lot of stuff. They think motorcycle accident. This is going to be terrible. Dude pops up and he just gives the bike a kick, like, you know, he's mad at
it. Yeah. That was Jason. Yeah.
Now, like we talked about earlier, Top Fuel Harley is pretty much the number one answer people give me when they say they won't race something, that they're scared of it. Is there anything that you are scared of or you wouldn't race? Because I need to know for my own personal purpose so I can make sure I stay far away from that.
I don't know, man. I mean, I like to watch those alters run. That looks like they're pretty hairy. When we were running NHRA, man, it's like, you know, every other pass they're gonna bounce off a wall or something. You know, so I bet that would be a trip. You know, what would I not race? I don't know. I probably don't want to like go racing helicopters or anything.
I can see.
Yeah.
What's crazy is Hartman went over 300 in a fuel alter down at that funny car chaos race.
Yeah. I saw it, wasn't that Hartford? He was with
Wilson.
No. Wilkerson.
Yeah, Wilkerson. Yeah.
Tim Wilkerson, I think. Yeah. No, that's impressive. Wow. You know, little bitty wheelbase, all that motor. Shit.
Yeah. 300 in that aspect. Yeah. You know, it's basically, that car in particular is it's an old funny car with an altered body on it. You know, a funny car can do 300 because it's got all that crazy downforce.
Right.
That thing's got like basically a Top Fuel wing on the back of it, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be like driving on an oil slick the whole time, I would imagine.
Yeah. That's like the fuel alter guys, again, that's a different level of crazy, because you're driving something that's a hybrid between a pro mod and a fuel car that just wants to do everything that you don't want it to do.
Right. Absolutely. Oh yeah, man. A buddy here at work, he got sick, and he has passed away now, unfortunately. But he had a real nice Willis bodied car with a 632 Musi motor in it, and, nitrous, a little shot of nitrogen. It was like a 470, 490 car, and we were just joking around. The doctor told him, said, you can't race right now, because if you were to have an accident, I'm afraid that would do you in. And we were just talking a little bit, and so he put me in the car, and I've never been down the drag strip in a car ever. And so we get in there, and he shows me, here's the trans brake, line lock, starting first, go right to high gear, do your burnout, all that good stuff. Here's the parachutes, and and the first place we went was to Wilkesboro, and man, it was a little warm, and I borrowed a fire suit from somebody that was not the same size as me, and so it was tight. Had a little neck thing on, helmet on. We got in there, and man, I was like, look, we have got to start this thing or start doing a burnout or something. I got to get out of here. Like, I started feeling claustrophobic, but it was a great experience, and it was such a cool car to drive, and I had a good time with Joe doing that, and I wish I was still doing that with him on weekends that we have off. They were a good group of people, and but it was definitely neat to be able to get into a fast car and just see what that's about. And who knows, maybe in the future there's a car somewhere for me. I don't know.
Maybe like one of those old school, like the period correct gassers with a blower motor, because those things they're gnarly. You'll see those guys leaving those things, and they're doing the G body shuffle going down the track, and they're driving on
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's a little wild with a high center of gravity and enough torque to tweak the front of the car.
Right. Yeah. The gassers are cool. I do like to watch those. And then Tom, man, he's got a huge following on Facebook, and we were pitted next to him in Gainesville, and he's got that like drag week
Tom
car.
Bailey.
Tom Bailey, that's it, man. And man, he had such an unfortunate event there in Gainesville with his car burning up, but they were neat folks, and good to be pitted next to. And I thought it was cool on Thursday night or Friday night. They were making some little hits, and they were doing 1,000-foot burnouts with little trailers behind their car. So that was pretty neat.
Did you see what he's taking on Drag Week next?
Yeah, I was reading about that the other day. He's going to be a hybrid with some nitromethane in there too.
Screw blow nitro wagon. That's like,
yeah, that's it. Yeah. And he's got some kind of gasser too. Like, I know it's like a straight axle, a front straight axle, and he's planning on doing something nitromethane based, I think, or with some in it.
Tom Bailey lives the ultimate car guy life, because he does all the bad ideas that most of us come up with. Right. He has the means to go, I'm going to do that. And then he goes out and he does it.
Right. Yeah. I had no idea who he was. We were putting next to him, we got along, we hung out and everything. And then after that, started looking and researching. I was like, oh man, this dude's got a YouTube channel. Oh man, this guy's got a whole lot of followers. And then the more I read, I was like, man, yeah, he is a cool guy. He definitely likes to have fun.
There was one year that they did up at Norwalk, the shakedown followed Drag Week. So he'd been on Drag Week with Steve Morse for a week, and Drag Week is brutal on you physically, mentally, and your vehicle. Yeah. So they literally got done winning Drag Week and decided, hey, let's go up to Norwalk and race this thing in Pro Mod. So they drove all night to get up there, and I'm coming through the pits, and I look at him, I'm like, weren't you guys just at Drag Week? He goes, yeah, we decided to come up here. Thinking it wasn't a good idea now. Like,
it wasn't a good idea. Yeah, that's our kind of people.
Yeah, and they're just drained, and all these other pro mods are being pushed or towed up, and here comes Tom up there. The only thing missing is some Guns N' Roses playing out of the car. He's got his coffee because the car literally has cup holders in it, right. A license plate. It's like, man, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool what he's doing right now with his son driving the old shitbox wagon at Crompton and them wrecked. They rebuilt it, and his son's going to drive it now. And
did he end up with it?
Yeah, Tom did a whole video about they held on to it for a while, and they kind of want to let things cool down a little bit. Do it the right way. Yeah, and basically that's his son's like trainer car for drag and drive events.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. No, that was we're good buddies with Dom and everything, and after leaving Indy last year, I don't really want to talk about it, but yeah, I'm glad that it's doing something. But yeah.
Yeah, it's coming back. They're like, oh, it's only gonna, it's gonna have a twin turbo LS, and I'm like, so it's only gonna make maybe almost as much as the screw blown alcohol engine you had in it.
Right. Right. Shoot.
It's people like that that you find whenever I'm at the drag strip, and I don't know if you do this. Like, I like to walk around and just look at all the different stuff because you never know what kind of insanity you're going to see. And I like anything loud, fast, and dangerous. And I'll be walking along. I think it drives my wife insane because I will literally stop in my tracks and make a turn left or right, depending on what I see in someone's pit.
Right. Right. You just do some cool stuff. I mean, you never know from a push bike to, I mean, we were I think it is Valdosta, and man, his name escapes me right now, but he's got a rocket bike. He's from like Sweden. And
Yeah.
oh, it's insane. But I mean, like the only way to figure it out, and it wouldn't do anything. He was having like the air or something was messing with his fixture. And so he went down to the go-kart track or something and was piddling around. And he finally got it right. And then he went 300 miles an hour, but he had completely miscalculated the amount of fuel, and it won't cut off until it runs out of fuel. And so he was like, nope. He's like, I'm not doing that. I think I'm done. But
Yeah.
and so, yeah, talk about insane. I don't think I want to race a rocket bike with too much fuel in it. That's for sure.
No, that sounds like the potential for a bad time because I don't math really well. So you carry the two, instead of the one. Oh,
And you've really only got one option at that point. Is get off. And
yeah, yeah. Because the sand trap is not something you want to hit at a high rate of speed on a motorcycle.
yeah, it'd be like 400 miles an hour by then.
Well, the other thing I saw was crazy is the big no prep race out in Oklahoma, Outlaw Armageddon. I went there a couple years, and they had no prep bike motorcycles racing. I'm like, so let me get this straight. We're gonna take fast motorcycle racing and make it even crazier by doing it on a no prep surface. I'm like, all right, you guys have fun. I'm gonna stand back and watch this.
Yeah, I think I definitely want a lot of electronics and traction control and a lot of the cheater items. I believe we were going to do that.
Yeah, because that's a whole nother thing. Is like I'm going to the no prep Kings race coming up here, and I thought no preparation at first. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. And then I went to one event. I'm like, okay, now I get it. Like the atmosphere behind it and how hard those guys drive those cars. It's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I get sucked into that, and then you see it, after the TV deal and everything, and then everybody's got a list now. Here, 336, you got 336 list, and but it's cool to see the cars, see what they come up with, and then kind of like Tom stuff. I think he's kind of at the pinnacle of that. Maybe it's not no prep, but there's a little prep these days, it seems like, and which I think is a good thing. I like the way that it's kind of come back to not so much street and it's just no prep, and that helped me accept it, if you will, more. Not that it matters if I accept it or not, but yeah, I can enjoy some episodes of that. And then when they have events locally, I'm definitely a fan.
Oh, they pack the house. And the
Oh,
more the more I got to think about it, I started, I'm preparing for this race I'm going to. Every car or racer has a nickname. And I've been doing some research on some nostalgia drag racing stuff for a future guest. And I'm like, every car had a nickname, or the racer had a nickname, and the stands were packed. The stands are packed at no prep events. I'm like, I think I'm starting to see a pattern here.
right. And and that, I mean, and rewind, 30 years, and everybody, I mean, you got the snake, the mongoose. I mean, everybody had a name, and the car had a name. I think that there needs to be big smoky burnouts, nicknames, car names, and I think that that's missing at some level. Our team, we're good. You got, right now I'm on the Bionic Woman. Jay's riding Maddie too. There's Maddie, the original, because there's Madeline Lehman, and she is absolutely probably the queen of drag racing. She can go right up to Bobby Lagana or Steve Torrance. She just goes right in the holler, and they treat her like a queen. Clay Milk and everybody's good. I mean, she'll call. Tony Schumacher talks to her once a week. But she is a huge fan of ours, and she's been around her whole life around Nitro Harleys, and drag racing. But yeah, so we do have the names, and Jay, he gets to be the Bulldog, so that's super cool. And I used to have a good name. I acquired the Spoiler way back in the day. Dane Miller deemed me the Spoiler. But something had happened over the years, and so now I'm just Timmy. They call me Top Fuel Timmy, and it's got something to do with me being real goofy. Like I can break a leg just coaching 9-year-old soccer, and yep, it's Top Fuel Timmy. That's it.
It's really interesting to see how that's kind of progressed. And I even saw it some this weekend at a PDRA race where some of the teams were, nitro cars, they don't do the big burnouts anymore, and they'll push a funny car and dragster into the beams where they're not even getting into the clutch. I'm starting to see some pro mod teams start to do this now. I'm like, it's the dissemination of technology and learning stuff. I'm like, it's bleeding down now. It was kind of crazy to see. Makes sense though.
Yeah, I'm not, I think that is a problem for our sport as a whole. You got to have racers to have a show, right? And I do appreciate that article that I saw a while back. It started with Jason Line, about being tolerated rather than celebrated, and I believe there is truth in that, especially at some levels. I also believe that even more importantly than that is without the fans, it's going to suffer like terribly. And I think we owe them Big Smoky burnouts and a great show. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I was, I had actually got to have a little lunch with Ricky Smith yesterday, and we were just talking about having to shift in NHRA your pro mod car, and I don't think that you should really be out there shucking and jiving in the cockpit with a 5-second car. And at the same time, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're, I'm not a car guy, and I don't even tune my bike, right? But I'd be willing to bet. I would take that bet that I bet they're still autos. Like what is it? One wire you hook up? I don't know, but maybe they should go pro and do that. And I know there's all the schools of thought. Some people say, "Oh, you should be dropping the clutch and shifting the gears," and maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. But I don't think that the rules should be so spread out. Like you can go to a PDRA race and your electronics are fine, but over here you have to shift it. But there again, I've driven a 470 Willis car and it had a power glide in. I didn't do anything, and I was perfectly happy with that. And the rest of the time, I'm on 2 wheels, so I'm pretty sure the 4-wheel people don't care what my opinion is. But as a fan, I do see how it seems cool that they're shifted by hand. But at the same time, I love to watch at the NHRA race. I'm drawn to pro mods and to funny cars, and just to watch them move all over the place. And anything with a short wheelbase and way too much horsepower is fun to watch.
Yeah, pro mod drivers in the NHRA.
Anything that carries the front of
you. Now that they have, it's quarter-mile pro mod racing, which is really, you don't see much of anymore, let alone that they have to shift while they're in there. And you can watch the videos of Alex Laughlin doing it. They're earning that paycheck inside that car.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I just think that I don't know, it's funny. And I might be biased because I had lunch with Ricky yesterday. So
Ricky be outspoken and have an opinion on something? Never.
It just happened yesterday for 5 minutes. And outside of that, I don't think it's happened in a year or two.
He's a wallflower, right? Wallflower. Well, Ty, I have one more question for you. And I've got so many cool gadgets at my disposal for the Dragzine podcast. I've got a time machine, I've got an unlimited bank account. For you, I'm going to unlock the tech chest, where I'm going to give you the ability to do anything you need to, whether it's considered possible or impossible, to make a Nitro Harley faster. What would you do to make a Nitro Harley faster? Just blank slate, the world is your oyster. What are you doing?
Man, if you could, I would love for it to turn 10,000 RPMs, be truly EFI, and have some form and be under pressure. And then that is probably something I would be less interested in riding.
Yeah. At that point, you're like, "Ooh, what have I done?"
Yeah, I feel like I'm headed to Jim McClure's again.
Yeah.
It's definitely be a flashback.
It's one of those moments. It's like when you mix a drink that's a little bit too strong and you think it's going to be good to go, then you drink it, you're like, this was a poor choice.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I've done that.
Yeah. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, right?
Oh yeah, I got a couple.
Well, Ty, our time here is coming to an end on the Dragzine podcast, and I like to give my guests their opportunity to channel their inner John Force and thank all their sponsors and tell people where to find them at. So the floor is yours, my friend. Tell people who helps you race and where they can learn what you're about and what you got going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, Spevco is my big one. Go to spevco.com, check it out. We got a lot of stuff going on as we get through the pandemic, and that life is opening back up. We're more than capable and wanting to help you. We have a nice hospitality unit that you can see on our website. It's available for lease, and so if you want to have the baddest birthday party or any event, you can definitely check that out. But yeah, definitely, if you're interested, go by the website and just kind of see what Spevco is about. And then there's Samson Exhaust with Mike Baverstock, and they have a great American Harley Davidson and Indian exhaust systems. So definitely go visit them. Better yet, go buy a couple sets. Definitely always J Turner Racing, the whole group. They've been real good to me forever, and I believe that is the best place to be. And then we're also really working on it's not a rough year. I mean, there's always worse stuff. I won't say it's a rough year, but so we are kind of self-funding our class between, be it Spevco, Samson, AB Steel, whoever it is. We're funding our Top Fuel class this year in an effort to attract a class sponsor for next year. And I would say we're really looking for that. And like you said, the fuel Harleys are usually quite something to see. And I'm not sure why it won't light fire and take completely off and somebody come on board. But we're going to keep plugging away, and we're definitely looking for a class sponsor because while Spevco, we're kind of in the event and marketing business, and that's great. I like to go race and just do that and keep the business separate. And it's been double duty this year. And between working with sponsors and then having to work with NHRA and then work with the competitors, we definitely need a sponsor. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And Skittles would be a great sponsor. Maddie makes myself, everybody in the pits, even Bob Lagana. He knows if something goes wrong, he knows it's because he didn't eat Skittles before the pass. So Skittles, if you're out there, Top Fuel Harley, that's where you want to spend your money.
Mars Candy Group, they can throw a different one on it all the time.
Absolutely.
Well, Ty, I have to thank our sponsors, ProCharger, Performance Distributors, Airflow Research, Holly, MSD, Flowmaster, Eldebrock, and Comp Cams for making this possible. I can now say that I've had a Top Fuel Harley racer on here. Hopefully we can get some more on in the future, Ty. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll see you soon at the track, man.
All right. Thank you. Have a great one.